The sky above Ornville was full of shining birds and floating islands. The wind moved like music through the trees. It was a world made for flying. The Ashari, the alien people of this world, had wings. They did not flap or move like bird wings instead. They were long glowing strands of energy that lifted them into the air. Flying was not only a way to move, it was their pride, their beauty, their way of life. But not for Velith. Velith sat in a silent hover chair, her legs still, her wings dark. Once, she had been one of the best flyers among the Ishari. Everyone knew her name. Children watched her, fly and dreamed of being like her. Her movements had been like dance, graceful, sharp, perfect. But 11 years ago, during a power core failure in one of Ornville's floating temples, Velith had been badly hurt. Her back was struck by a burning energy burst. Her wings were gone. Her body was changed forever. She could no longer stand, let alone fly. The healers tried everything. But the Ashari did not believe in machines touching their bodies. They used only natural healing and soft energy treatments. None of them worked. Now every day, Velith rolled quietly through the crystal bridges and glowing gardens of her city. People bowed to her, showed her respect, but their eyes were full of pity. They treated her like a hero who had already died. Velith hated it. She didn't want their pity. She didn't want their songs. She wanted to move, to feel the wind. 2. Fly a gun or even just to walk. But the Ashari believed that if something was broken, it was meant to stay broken. They feared machines that changed the body. They believed in peace, beauty, and tradition. Even if that tradition left someone behind, Velith kept her anger hidden. Her face was calm, her words polite. But inside her heart, a fire still burned. One day, the sky opened. The small Terran shuttle landed on the outer edge of Ornville. The shuttle belonged to Earth's Concord Embassy, bringing a few humans for a diplomatic visit. Most Ishari didn't care. They saw humans as strange, noisy beings who loved metal and machines too much. Still, the humans were allowed to visit. And one of them, Elijah Keene, a young engineer, asked to see the famous floating cities. Velith was on the high bridge near the water towers when Elijah first saw her. She sat quietly in her chair, watching the distant islands drift like clouds. Her silver-white hair fell over her shoulders, and her long fingers traced shapes in the air, as if remembering how it felt to fly. Elijah's eyes were full of wonder. He had seen many things in space, but nothing like her. Not just her beauty, though. She was beautiful, but the sadness and strength in her face. She was like a living statue, frozen by time. He walked over slowly, not sure if she would speak to him. "Excuse me," he said softly. "You're Velith, right?" She looked at him, surprised by his Terran accent. Her voice was clear and calm. "Yes, and you are Elijah Keene." "I'm an engineer from Earth," he said with a smile. "I didn't mean to disturb you. I've read about you. You were once the fastest flyer on Ornville." Velith raised an eyebrow. Yes, that was a long time ago." Elijah hesitated. "What happened?" She turned her chair and looked out toward the floating horizon. An energy burst. "Shattered my spinal conduit. My wings can no longer form. I cannot move my legs. The Ashari do not allow machines to repair what nature has broken." There was no anger in her voice, but no hope either. It's just truth. Elijah was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "We have things on Earth, machines that can help people walk again, even fly." Velith gave a small laugh. "You think you can fix me? The healers of Ornville tried everything. Machines are forbidden." He didn't look away. "With all respect, maybe it's not that you can't be fixed. Maybe it's just that no one tried the right way." Her eyes narrowed slightly. No one had spoken to her like this in years. "You speak boldly," she said. "Most here would never say such things." "Not from here," Elijah replied. "Where I come from, we don't give up on people just because tradition says so." Velith studied him. His face was honest, his eyes full of fire. He meant every word. "Suppose," she said slowly, "I allowed you to try. What would you do?" He smiled. "I'd build you a suit, one that connects to your nervous system. Not just to walk, but to move like you did before. Maybe even better." Heart jumped, but she didn't show it. You would do this for me? A stranger. You're not a stranger, Elijah said. You're a symbol. And I'm tired of watching symbols fade away. Later that night, Velith sat alone in her chamber. For the first time in years, she felt something new in her chest, not anger. Not sadness, but possibility. Was it foolish to believe in a Terran's dream? Perhaps. But she remembered his eyes, full of truth. And for the first time in 11 years, she whispered to herself, maybe I will fly again. The sky of Orenvel turned gold as the sun began to set behind the floating cliffs. The glowing towers and crystal bridges sparkled in the soft light. It was peaceful, quiet, beautiful. But inside Elijah's mind, sparks of excitement were flying. He sat alone in the guest quarters given to him by the Ishari Council. His room was elegant curved walls, floating lights, and music in the air, but he didn't care about any of that. His attention was focused on the holopad in front of him. On it was a sketch-hand outline of a robotic suit. The shape was sleek and smooth, made to fit Velith's body, had soft joints, shock-absorbing legs, and a spinal connector designed to match Ishari biology. He had spent the last 12 hours working on it non-stop. No breaks, no sleep. This is going to work, Elijah whispered to himself, but it wouldn't be easy. Ishari tech didn't mix with Terran machines, and their people didn't want it to. Elijah had already seen how most Ishari looked at him with quiet judgment. To them, he was just another human who worshipped wires and metal except for Velith. She had listened. She had not laughed at his idea. She had not pushed him away. The fact that she had even asked what he would do, that meant something. A soft knock broke his thoughts. He turned and opened the door. To his surprise, Velith was there, sitting quietly in her hover chair, her silver-white cloak wrapped around her shoulders. I hope I'm not disturbing you, she said calmly. Elijah stood quickly. Not at all. Please, come in. She entered slowly, and the door closed behind her. Her eyes moved across the room and stopped on the holopad. You've already started, she said. I couldn't wait, Elijah replied with a smile. I have the early design here. Suit would be light but strong. I want to use memory flex alloy from our Mars labs. It bends with your movement, not against it. She floated closer and looked at the image. The design was unfamiliar, but something about it felt hopeful. You know, this is against everything my people believe, she said after a moment. I know, Elijah said gently. I also know your people left you behind. Velith was silent. That truth stung more than she wanted to admit. I don't want to offend anyone, Elijah added. I just want to help you. Her eyes met his, sharp and steady. Why? He paused. Because I've seen people like you before. Back home, heroes, legends, forgotten by the world because they couldn't do what they once did. But I've also seen what happens when someone gets their strength back. Not just the body, but the soul. Velith looked away, her fingers gently brushing her lap. And if it fails, Elijah said, but we try, together. She took a slow breath, then reached into the folds of her cloak and pulled out a small glowing cube. What's that? Elijah asked. My spinal matrix, she said. A full scan of my nervous system from before the injury and after. Only I have access to this. She placed it on the table. The cube glowed brighter. I give it to you, she said. If you are going to build something that connects to my mind and body, you'll need this. Elijah stared at the cube then. At her? This is ... everything, are you sure? I am, she replied. But we do this secretly. The council must not know. They will stop us. Understood, Elijah said. I'll keep everything off record. No public logs, no Concord. Data. She gave a small nod. Good, then let us begin. Over the next weeks, the hidden project began. Elijah worked in an old Ishari observation dome that was no longer in use. It floated above the quiet misty sea, hidden by thick clouds. Velith visited often, helping him understand the shape of her body, the old technology used in her hover chair, and the limits of Ishari biology. They worked as a team to minds. Two worlds, one goal. Elijah built the skeleton of the suit first. It looked strange at first, all in thin with no color. But as more parts were added, it began to look graceful. Beautiful. Velith learned to connect to it slowly. Her spinal matrix had to be translated into a language the suit could understand. Elijah wrote new code from scratch, building a bridge. Between her alien signals and the Terran tech, I never thought I'd be working with alien nerves. Elijah joked one night as he adjusted the back frame. "You're full of surprises. And you're full of madness," Velith replied with a small smile. "But maybe that's what I need." They laughed together, quietly, like old friends. One day, while returning from the dome, Velith was stopped by High Chancellor Rhinell, a tall and proud Ashari leader. His face was stern, his wings glowing with authority. "You spend much time with the human?" he said. "He is a guest," Velith answered calmly. "I show him our world." Rhinell studied her carefully. "You walk with old pain, Velith, I hope. You are not chasing false hopes." She held her head high. "Better a false hope than no hope at all." He said nothing. But as he walked away, Velith knew she was being watched. Back at the dome, Elijah added the final neural thread to the suit's spine. He looked at the design with pride. "It's almost ready," he said softly. Velith stood beside him, her eyes shining. "For the first time in years," she said, "I'm not afraid of falling anymore." The skies above Ornvel were darker than usual. Heavy gray clouds gathered above the floating islands, and the wind began to howl between the tall towers. It was the season of sky rain, when the energy-rich storms passed through the upper air. Layers the Ashari often stayed indoors during these storms. The lightning here was not normal. It shimmered in strange colors. The rain itself was full of soft energy pulses. But tonight, someone was outside. On a lonely cliffside near the edge of a broken bridge, Velith waited. She sat in her hover chair, her silver cloak pushed back by the wind. Around her, the air buzzed with quiet static. Raindrops fell in glowing ripples on the stone. She waited for Elijah. He arrived late, his coat soaked and tools clinking softly. In his backpack. When he saw her, he smiled, wiping water from his face. "You picked a great night for secret meetings," he joked. "I knew no one would follow," she replied. Elijah stepped closer and looked out at the storm. "You sure this is safe?" "No," Velith said, "but necessary." She turned to face him fully. "I've been warned. The council suspects something. They don't know what yet, ... but they will." Elijah's smile faded. "Then we're running out of time," Velith nodded. "That's why I brought you here. This place, it used to be a launch pad for Ashari scouts. It was shut down after the war with the air raiders. Now no one comes here." She reached into a small pouch and pulled out a thin golden disc. "What's this?" Taja asked, taking it carefully. "My neural imprint," she said. "Not just the spinal matrix. This is ... all of me. Thoughts, patterns, energy flows. It's what powers our wings. Sacred. Giving it to someone else is not allowed." Elijah looked at her eyes wide. "Velith ... are you sure?" "I trust you," she said. "If this suit is to move like me, it must know me. Not just my nerves, my rhythm, my intent." He held the disc with care, as if it were a living thing. "I'll keep it safe, I promise." "Good," she said. Then, after a pause, and when it's ready, ... I want to walk. Alone, no one watching, no tests, no audience. "You'll have it," Elijah said, "but you'll need training. The suit is powerful. It reacts fast. It's too fast for someone." New Velith's eyes narrowed. "I am not just someone. I was born to move." He grinned. "Fair point." The rain began to fall harder now, glowing droplets striking the stone with soft hissing sounds. Lightning cracked in the distance blue, then green, then white. Suddenly Velith spoke again, her voice quieter. "Elijah ... what if I fail?" He turned to her. "Then I'll catch you." Back at the hidden dome, Elijah worked faster than ever. He used the golden disc to rewrite the suit's inner code. The energy strands from Velith's imprint blended with Terran, tech in strange, perfect ways. The suit began to hum on its own. like it could feel her already. He added balance nodes, gravity stabilizers, and something new. Wing modules. Not true wings like the Ashari had, but small energy blades that could lift and glide. Not for flight, but maybe one day. Velith watched the suit grow piece by piece. For the first time, it looked alive. A second skin, a rebirth. One night, as they checked final systems, Elijah looked at her. "It's ready." She didn't speak. She just reached for the frame and whispered, "Help me in." The suit opened from the back like a flower. Soft lights glowed from within. Velith moved out. Of her chair with Elijah's help, her legs trembling, useless on their own. But once she slid into the suit, the frame wrapped around her with smooth precision, then dash click, the spinal port connected. Her eyes went wide. She felt something ... powerful, hot and cold at once. Like waking from a long sleep, Elijah stood back. "Try moving your arm." Velith raised her hand. It moved like water, no delay, no pain. She took a breath, then stood on her own. For the first time in 11 years, the room was silent, except for the hum of the suit. Velith looked down at her legs, then at Elijah. "I'm standing," she whispered. "You're more than standing," he said. "You're rising." The next few days were for practice. Velith walked slowly at first, her steps unsure. But every hour, her body grew stronger. The suit didn't move, for her it moved with her. It felt like a dance partner, listening to every signal. From her nerves, her breath, her thoughts, she walked across platforms, climbed stairs, jumped from ledge to ledge. Elijah watched in awe. "You're not just walking," he said one day. "You're leading the suit." Velith smiled. "I told you I was born to move." But the council was not blind. "Hi, Chancellor." Reinl met with 2 other leaders in a quiet garden. "She's working with the human," Reinl said. "There are whispers of forbidden machines. Energy pulses near the old dome." "We must confront her," one said. "Not yet," Reinl replied. "Let her finish. Then we decide." Back at the dome, Elijah had a final gift, a small metal box. He opened it to reveal a pair of wing pulse generators light. "Short-range flight boosters? They won't carry you far," he said. "But if you want ... you can float again, even for a few seconds." Velith touched them gently. Her voice was quiet. "You've given me back more than flight," she said. "You gave me choice." She turned, walked to the edge of the platform and looked. Out over the sea of clouds, tomorrow, she would show the world what a human and an Ashari could build together. The sky over Nerith 5 stretched wide and open, painted with shades of orange and gold. Light winds rolled across the plains like soft waves, carrying the scent of dry grass and distant clouds. It was quiet here, no cities, no crowds, no judgment. It was the perfect place to start again. Velith stood tall on the edge of a cliff, her silver suit glowing faintly in the early morning light. The robotic frame moved perfectly with her body now. It wasn't just a tool anymore. It was part of her. Behind her, Elijah knelt beside a long, flat table filled with parts. Metal pieces, energy crystals, and 2 folded wing prototypes rested. On the surface. "Are you sure about this?" Koa Elijah asked, looking up. Velith turned her head and gave him a calm smile. "I was born to fly." He nodded and tightened a bolt. "Then let's build your wings." For many days they worked together. The new wing system wasn't meant for space travel or high-altitude flight. It was designed for short glides, controlled lifts, and fast movement over rough ground. The wings were shaped like long, curved blades, made of lightweight nanometal, fused with Ashari crystal veins. Elijah called them pulse wings. When charged, they would push out a soft energy burst that lifted the user briefly off the ground. Not true flight, but close. Velith trained harder than ever. She learned to run, jump, and glide. At first, the landings were rough. She fell many times, but she never stopped. The suit supported her. It protected her. It caught her when she stumbled. And every time she rose again, she was stronger. One windy afternoon, Elijah stood back as Velith tested the wings for the 6th time. "Jump when the wind lifts," he called out, then spread the panels. Velith ran forward across the plain. The wind pushed hard from behind. At the right moment, she jumped and activated the pulse wings. They snapped open like silver feathers, and she soared. Only for a few seconds, but it was enough. Her feet left the ground. The wind carried her forward. Her body moved through the air like she had never been broken. When she landed, she laughed. Not a small laugh, but a full, joyful sound that echoed across the fields. "I flew," she shouted. Elijah ran toward her. "Yes, you did." She looked up at the sky. "I want to go higher." "Then we'll keep building," he promised. Back on Orenvel, the Sky Council was not resting. Chancellor Raylan stood before a large crystal screen showing drone footage from Nerith 5. It showed Velith gliding, training, and laughing with the human. "She refuses our order," he said. "She spreads ideas of technology and disobedience." An older counselor frowned. "She has broken no law now. She left peacefully." Raylan's eyes narrowed. "She was one of us. She is becoming something else. Something dangerous." The room was silent. Then Raylan made his proposal. "If she returns wearing that suit, if she dares show her face again, we will arrest her. Her technology will be seized, and the human will be banned from our skies." But Velith had no plans to hide. One evening, as the twin moons rose, Elijah found her sitting quietly by the lake on Nerith 5, her wings folded neatly behind her. Her face was thoughtful. "I miss it," she said softly. "Orenvel?" he asked. She nodded. The wind through the towers, the sky bridges, the music at sunset. "I gave up everything to stand again, but it still hurts." Elijah sat beside her. "You can still return your own terms." "Will never accept me," she whispered. "Not like this." "Then make them see," he said. "Don't ask for a place. Take one." She looked at him, unsure. He continued, "Come with me to the next human science gathering. It's held in orbit above both our worlds. Many species. Attend. Share your story. Let others see what's possible." She was quiet for a moment. Then she nodded. "Yes. Let the galaxy see what hope looks like." The station was called Unity Arc. It floated above the neutral zone, a giant ring spinning. Slowly in space, it was home to scientists, thinkers, and creators from dozens of planets. Velith and Elijah arrived together. She wore a simple robe over her suit. Her wings were folded flat, hidden from view. But as they stepped into the main hall, all eyes turned toward her. Some recognized her. Many had only heard the stories. A once great Ashari pilot, paralyzed in battle, left behind now, standing tall against stronger, faster, and different. Elijah introduced her to the crowd. "This is not just about technology," he said. "It's about respect, trust, and second chances." Stepped forward and spoke. She told them everything about the accident. The silence that followed, the loneliness, the pain, and the unexpected friendship that gave her hope. She showed the suit. She activated the wings. And in front of the crowd, she leapt and flew across the hall, not with the grace of her old wings, but with something new. Everyone stood and clapped. Some cried. One Ishari elder in the back whispered, "She is still one of us." That night, as they returned to their quarters, Elijah looked at her and smiled. "You've started something," Velith smiled back. "Then let's finish it." The crowd's applause still echoed in the grand hall of Unity Arc. Velith's pulse wings retracted quietly as she stood at the center of the room. The mix of species, humans, Ishari, and many others watched her with a new respect. The first time in many years, Velith felt a deep sense of belonging. Elijah stood beside her, proud but careful. He knew this was only the start. After her flight demonstration, several important leaders and scientists came forward with questions in praise. But not everyone was pleased. Among the crowd was a stern Ishari elder named Lareth, who had once been a great pilot herself. Her wings were folded tightly, her expression cold. "You have shown us something new," Lareth said, stepping forward. Her voice was calm but firm. "But is this truly Ishari? Or are you losing yourself to human machines?" Veleth met her gaze steadily. "I am still Veleth. The suit helps me walk and fly. It does not change who I am." Lareth shook her head. "Slowly, technology is a tool, but it must not replace our spirit. You risk losing the true flight." Veleth's jaw tightened, but she answered with respect. "Spirit is in the heart, not just the wings. I carry mine with me, wherever I go." The crowd murmured. Some nodded, others looked doubtful. Elijah stepped forward. "This suit and wings are a bridge, not a replacement. They connect Ishari heritage with human technology. Together, we can build a future that honors both." For the first time, Veleth saw hope in the eyes of many. Later that evening, Veleth and Elijah stood on the observation deck, watching the stars swirl around Unity Arc. The galaxy was alive with endless possibilities. "Do you think they will accept me?" Veleth asked quietly. Elijah smiled gently. "Not everyone will, but the ones who matter will. And your courage will inspire others." She sighed. "I want to return home. To Orenvel. That will be the true test." Elijah said, "You face more than technology there. You face tradition and fear." Veleth looked up at the stars. "Oh, I will not run from my past. I will face it." Days passed, and news of Veleth's flight spread across the galaxy. Many hailed her as a hero, proof that disability was not the end, but a new beginning. Others whispered warnings of unnatural technology and human interference.
Meanwhile,
the Council of Orenvel grew restless. Chancellor Raylan gathered his closest advisors. "We must act before this spreads," he said. "Her return will inspire rebellion against our laws." One counselor, younger and more open-minded, spoke softly. "She is not a threat if we listen. Perhaps she can teach us." Raylan scowled. "We cannot risk it. Prepare a delegation. We will meet her and decide her fate." Back on Nerith 5, preparations began for the journey home. Elijah worked on upgrading the suit with new sensors and stronger wings. Veleth trained every day, pushing her body and mind further. She was ready. Before they left, Elijah handed her a small device. "This will record everything, your flight, your words, your proof. We will not let anyone silence your story." Veleth took it with a steady hand. "Thank you." The shuttle descended slowly toward Orenvel. Below, the floating islands sparkled under the afternoon sun. The city looked the same, but for Veleth, it felt different, like a stage set for a new act. The council delegation awaited her at the landing platform. Their faces were cold and unreadable. Veleth stepped down, her suit shining softly. Her wings were folded but visible. She held her head high. Chancellor Raylan was the first to speak. "Veleth," he said, voice low but commanding, "you return. With forbidden technology, you have defied our laws. Why should we accept you?" She met his eyes without fear. "Because I am still Ishari," she said, "and because this suit does not take away my soul. It gives me back my life." A murmur rose from the crowd. Elijah stood behind her, silent but strong, Raylan his eyes narrowed. "You will explain yourself to the council. Then we decide your fate." The council hall was filled with tension. Veleth presented her story, the accident, the years in silence, Elijah's gift, her rebirth, and her vision for a future where Ishari and humans could work together. She spoke honestly, without anger or fear. Some listened, some judged. Lareth was among the judges, her expression softer now, but still wary. When she finished, silence fell. Then the eldest counselor spoke. "We cannot ignore her strength. She walks and flies again, but at what cost?" Raylan answered. "The cost is our traditions, our laws." Veleth shook her head. "Our traditions must grow, not break. I ask not to replace Ishari ways, but to enrich them." The vote was close. By a small margin, the council agreed to allow Velith to keep her suit, but with strict rules. Serve as a bridge between Ashari and humans, showing both how to live and work together. Elijah was allowed to stay as her partner and protector. Velith accepted. It was not a perfect victory, but it was a start. Outside the council hall, a crowd waited. Many cheered. Others watched quietly. Velith looked at Elijah. "We have much to do," smiled. "Yes, but today you have won more than you think." God. Night, as the city lights twinkled, Velith stood on a high balcony. Her suit hummed softly. Her wings shimmered faintly. She closed her eyes. She felt the wind, and she felt free. The sun rose slowly over Orenvel, its light spilling across the floating islands and glass towers. The city was waking, but for Velith. This day felt different, like the first day of a new life. After the council's decision, the air had changed. There was still tension, but also curiosity. People whispered in markets. Children pointed at her robotic suit. And elders looked at her with quiet respect. Velith stood on the highest balcony of her family's old home, looking out over the city. The gentle wind played with her white hair, and the pulse wings on her back glowed softly. She remembered the years spent trapped in silence and stillness. 10 years of pain, loss, and doubt. Now she was free to fly. Elijah joined her on the balcony, carrying 2 steaming cups of tea. He smiled and handed her one. "Ready for today?" he asked. Velith took the cup and nodded. "Today is the first day the future feels real." They sat quietly, watching the city come alive beneath them. The news of Velith's return and the council's decision had spread far and wide. Delegations from other planets came to learn about her suit and the new technology that bridged species. At the Orenvel Science Center, Velith and Elijah opened a workshop for engineers and inventors. Their goal was clear: to build machines that helped all who were broken or different. It's not just the Ashari. Young Ashari and humans worked side by side, learning from each other. Ideas flowed like rivers. Velith became a symbol of hope and unity. But challenges remained. One afternoon, as Velith trained in the Sky Gardens, a group of Ashari approached her. They were young pilots, eager but cautious. "We want to learn," said their leader, a tall young Ashari named Sarin. "Your suit. It is unlike anything we have seen. Will you teach us?" Velith smiled warmly. "Yes. The future belongs to those who are willing to learn and change." Sarin looked at her thoughtfully. "You once told me spirit is in the heart, not wings. How do we keep that alive?" Velith thought for a moment. "By remembering who we are, no matter what we wear or how we move. Technology is a tool, but spirit is the fire inside." The young pilots nodded. They had found a new teacher. Meanwhile, Chancellor Raylon watched from the council chambers. His eyes no longer burned with anger. But with careful thought, he summoned Velith. "You have changed much," he said when she arrived, "and I see now that change can be good." Velith bowed her head slightly. "Thank you, Chancellor." He looked out over the city. "Perhaps it is time to look beyond tradition, to open new wings for Orenvel." Velith smiled. "We can fly higher if we fly together." Time passed. The suit improved, the workshops grew, and Orenvel began to change. The old fear of machines gave way to hope for a better future. Velith flew often now, soaring over the city, her pulse wings catching the wind like real feathers. Her laughter carried on the breeze, a sound once lost, but now free. Elijah stood by her side, proud and happy. Together, they had built more than a machine. They had built a bridge between species, between past and future, between brokenness and strength. One evening, under the glow of the twin moons, Velith sat quietly on her balcony. She closed her eyes and felt the wind on her face. She was no longer the woman who once sat in a wheelchair, forgotten and broken. She was a symbol, a warrior of hope, a living proof that even the deepest wounds could heal not by forgetting, but by embracing change. She spread her wings and looked to the stars. The future was vast, and she was ready to fly.